What's up everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Ilia Topuria has released another official statement addressing the ongoing media coverage surrounding his divorce proceedings. In his clarification, Topuria corrected reports claiming he had been summoned to court in connection with a domestic violence case. While he confirmed that he's required to appear in court, he emphasized that the matter is strictly a family-related administrative issue involving his daughter, and not testimony in any domestic violence proceedings. In his statement, Topuria expressed gratitude toward media outlets that have treated him respectfully throughout his career, while also voicing disappointment that he is currently in the news for matters unrelated to sports. He acknowledged that public figures are often exposed to misleading headlines and false narratives designed to generate clicks without concern for truth or consequences. Topuria explained that a media outlet recently published a false headline claiming he had been summoned to testify in a domestic violence case, a claim that was later corrected. He stated that he has never been summoned for that reason, though he would cooperate willingly if ever required. According to Topuria, the court appearance is solely connected to administrative procedures regarding his daughter's ability to travel outside Spain, noting that he has been unable to see her for 4 months despite repeated efforts. He further stated that the situation began after he filed for divorce, following weeks of negotiations after their separation, and after he refused what he described as unreasonable financial demands. A complaint alleging abuse was filed weeks later, something he says he had previously been threatened with. That complaint is now under judicial review. Topuria concluded by reaffirming his faith in justice and expressing confidence that the truth will prevail. He emphasized his desire to reunite with his children and called on the media to respect the facts, avoid spreading unverified information, and protect the privacy of minors involved. Before we jump into the next story, we have a small favor to ask. If you're enjoying the content, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon. It really helps us out and ensures you'll never miss an update. Move on to another news. Justin Gaethje was recently captured in an intense training moment as he delivered a series of heavy body shots before taking down his coach during a sparring session. The exchange highlighted Gaethje's physical readiness and aggressive pace as he continues preparations for his upcoming bout against Paddy Pimblett for the interim lightweight title at UFC 324 later this month. The training footage opens on a high-energy session, with the coaching staff emphasizing that it was a demanding day designed to push Gaethje to his limits. The atmosphere reflected a sense of urgency and focus as the team worked to bring out Gaethje's competitive edge, with the fight fast approaching. Despite the intensity, there was a lighthearted undertone among the team, acknowledging the physical toll of such sessions while reinforcing confidence in Gaethje's readiness. At one point, Gaethje appeared to escalate the pace during a grappling exchange, catching his coach off guard with a powerful takedown. The impact drew an immediate reaction, with his coach jokingly expressing shock at the force, remarking that the slam felt strong enough to rattle every vertebra in his back. Laughter followed, underscoring the mutual trust and respect between fighter and coach, even amid grueling preparation. Despite the physical strain, the message from the team was clear: Gaethje is peaking at the right time. With January 24 fast approaching, his coaches expressed full confidence that he is battle-ready and primed to deliver a dominant performance when he steps into the octagon. Move on to another news. Dominick Cruz has responded to the backlash he received following a viral social media post made after UFC 323, where Alexandre Pantoja suffered an arm injury and Joshua Vanna was crowned the new flyweight champion. Shortly after the event, Cruz posted on X expressing that he believed the fight between Vanna and Pantoja should have been allowed to continue, stating that fighters should have the choice to keep going after an injury. He referenced how athletes routinely push through dislocations after resetting the joint. The comments sparked significant criticism from fans, many of whom noted that Pantoja appeared to accept the stoppage and did not protest the referee's decision. Cruz later clarified his perspective while speaking on the Love and War podcast. He explained that his comments stemmed from observing Pantoja's immediate reaction after the stoppage, noting that Pantoja appeared to shake his head and signal that he was okay. Cruz emphasized that he was not claiming Pantoja was medically fit to continue, but rather interpreting the body language as disappointment that the fight had ended so quickly. Drawing from personal experience, Cruz explained that shoulder dislocations can sometimes be reset quickly, significantly reducing pain, and cited past examples of fighters continuing after severe injuries. However, he acknowledged that in Pantoja's case, the referee visibly recognized structural damage and made the call to stop the fight before Pantoja could assess whether he could continue. Cruz concluded by stating that his core issue was about fighter autonomy He believes Pantoja should have been given a brief opportunity to attempt to recover and make that decision himself. While acknowledging that Pantoja may have ultimately chosen to stop, Cruz maintained that as a fighter, he would want the chance to get back to his feet and see if continuing was possible. Move on to another news. New details surrounding the rumored UFC White House event have begun to surface, suggesting the promotion may be planning the most stacked fight card in its history. Veteran UFC commentator Jon Anik recently discussed the possibility that the organization could feature as many as 6 or 7 undisputed title fights on a single card, potentially held on the White House lawn. The speculation gained traction after a viral video of Donald Trump surfaced, in which he referenced the idea of 8 or 9 championship fights taking place on one historic UFC card. While Anik acknowledged that 8 title fights would be extremely ambitious, he expressed confidence that the UFC is realistically moving toward a scenario where 6 or 7 championships could be contested at the same event. Anik explained that the UFC scheduling may make this possible, with UFC 324 and UFC 325 expected to be complete by early February. All current champions would likely have clarity on their status. February is expected to have no numbered pay-per-view events, allowing champions time to recover. March's first numbered event is anticipated to be headlined by a non-undisputed title, such as the BMF belt, which would further preserve champions for later in the year. By April or May, the UFC could hold another pay-per-view, positioning June 14 as the ideal date for the White House event. By then, several champions would be available or deliberately held back to appear on the historic card. Anik suggested that the heavyweight title holder Tom Aspinall is a strong candidate to headline the event. Other potential matchups discussed include rising flyweight champion Joshua Van, possibly facing Tatsuro Taira earlier in the year, while stars such as Khamzat Chimaev and Alex Pereira are widely expected to compete on the White House lawn. Pereira has reportedly indicated a preference to wait specifically for that event rather than fighting earlier. The discussion also hinted at the possibility of long-anticipated trilogy bouts, further reinforcing the idea that the UFC is positioning the White House card as a once-in-a-lifetime spectacle designed to redefine what a fight card can be. Move on to another news. Daniel Cormier has expressed strong belief that Cain Velasquez would have gone down as the greatest heavyweight in MMA history if not for repeated injuries that disrupted his career. Cormier described Velasquez as the most complete fighter he has ever encountered, emphasizing that his skill set had no weaknesses. According to Cormier, Velasquez excelled in every aspect of mixed martial arts, from wrestling and striking to conditioning and toughness. He stated that had Velasquez remained healthy, there would have been no debate about his place at the top of the heavyweight division. Recalling personal training experiences, Cormier shared an anecdote from a sparring session that highlighted Velasquez's intensity and mindset. He explained that after landing a hard shot during practice, Velasquez immediately responded with equal force, effectively ending the session. When questioned, Velasquez simply explained that he reacted instinctively, noting that fighting at full intensity was all he knew. Cormier said this mentality defined Velasquez as a competitor and underscored why he was so dominant in his prime. Cormier went on to describe Velasquez as the best at everything, reiterating that no heavyweight he has faced or observed matched his overall ability. He also acknowledged the difficult personal challenges Velasquez is currently facing, asked fans to keep him in their thoughts as he approaches an important legal moment in his life. In closing, Cormier credited Velasquez as a major influence on his own career, stating that he would not have achieved the success he did without training alongside him. He emphasized his gratitude and loyalty to Velasquez, referring to him not only as a teammate, but as a brother whose impact on the sport and on his life remains profound. Move on to another news. Andrei Arlovski has claimed that social media personality Jack Doherty has gone silent after publicly calling him out following their recent altercation. The incident occurred during the high-profile Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua, where Arlovski became involved in a physical confrontation with Doherty and several of his associates. In the aftermath, Doherty made public statements suggesting that Arlovski could either box his security guard or fight him and 2 of his friends simultaneously. Speaking this week in an interview with MMA Fighting, Arlovski said the situation went viral for only a short period before Doherty disappeared. He explained that Doherty was extremely vocal online for 2 or 3 days, using insults and discussing potential boxing scenarios. According to Arlovski, there was even talk of Misfits Boxing reaching out through his management, but no response or follow-up ever came. Arlovski described Doherty as loud and confident initially, but ultimately unwilling to move forward with anything once the attention faded. Arlovski also reflected on how unexpectedly public the situation became. He said he woke up the morning after the altercation to countless messages and calls, with people praising him and referring to him as a hero. He shared a moment from his daily life where children in his neighborhood recognized him from TikTok clips of the incident, despite him not even having an account on the platform. While recounting the altercation, Arlovski expressed disappointment that no one attempted to intervene and that bystanders chose to film instead. He explained that he was struck by a bodyguard he initially mistook for a random spectator, believing the first punch to be accidental. When a second punch landed, chaos erupted, with punches coming from behind. Arlovski described the situation as dangerous and unpleasant. Despite the incident, Arlovski said he was proud of his wife and son for standing up for him during the confrontation. He concluded by saying he hopes he never crosses paths with Doherty again, but acknowledged that anything is possible. Move on to another news. Luke Rockhold has delivered blunt criticism of Tyron Woodley following Woodley's latest boxing loss. Questioning whether the former UFC champion should continue competing at all, Woodley recently stepped in on short notice to face Anderson Silva on the main card of the high-profile Jake Paul vs. Anthony Joshua. The bout ended in the second round, with Silva stopping Woodley in decisive fashion. Woodley accepted the fight after Silva's original opponent, Chris Weidman, was forced to withdraw. The defeat marked Woodley's third consecutive loss in boxing and his seventh straight loss overall when including his final MMA bouts. Following the fight, Rockhold appeared as a guest on Submission Radio where he shared his candid assessment of Woodley's performance and current mindset as a fighter. Rockhold said the outcome unfolded exactly as he expected, explaining that he believes Woodley is no longer mentally engaged in competition. While emphasizing that Woodley remains a close friend, Rockhold stated that Woodley appeared to be sleep fighting, suggesting a lack of awareness and urgency inside the ring. He noted that high-level fighting requires the ability to consciously read, react to, and throw punches, and questioned whether Woodley still possesses that sharpness. Rockhold went on to imply that Woodley's struggles are not just physical, but mental, arguing that he no longer seems fully present in combat situation. His comments reignited debate among fans about Woodley's future in combat sports, particularly given his age and extended losing streak. The discussion ultimately centered on whether Woodley should continue competing or consider stepping away, with Rockhold's remarks adding to growing concerns about the former champion's long-term well-being and legacy. Move on to another news. Ilia Topuria has released an official statement addressing what he describes as false and misleading media coverage surrounding his personal legal situation. Responding publicly on X, Topuria called out a media outlet for publishing inaccurate information that he says misrepresented the nature of his court involvement. In his statement, Topuria expressed gratitude toward journalists who have treated him with respect throughout his career, while also voicing disappointment that he is currently making headlines for matters unrelated to sport. He acknowledged that being a public figure comes with exposure to sensationalist reporting, but criticized the spread of unverified claims designed to generate clicks without regard for truth or consequences. Topuria clarified that a recent report falsely claimed he had been summoned to testify in a specific legal case, a headline that was later corrected after being proven inaccurate. He stated that he has never been summoned for that reason, although he would cooperate willingly if required. According to Topuria, his court appearance is strictly connected to a family-related administrative matter concerning his daughter's ability to travel outside of Spain. He revealed that he's been unable to see her for 4 months despite repeated efforts. He went on to explain that the situation began after he filed for divorce following weeks of negotiations after the separation. After refusing what he described as unreasonable financial demands, a complaint alleging abuse was filed weeks later, something he claims he had previously been threatened with. That matter is now under judicial review. Topuria emphasized that while he accepts the cost of public exposure, It does not justify the distortion of fact, the spread of false information, or the public discussion of matters involving a minor who deserves protection. He reaffirmed his trust in God, justice, and the truth, stating his belief that the situation will ultimately be resolved fairly. He added that reuniting with his children remains one of his highest priorities. Regarding his fighting future, Topuria has indicated that he hopes to return to competition by mid-year, though that timeline could shift depending on how the situation unfolds. Despite the circumstances, he remains active in training, with recent footage showing him continuing his workouts as the new year begins.